we're a car club. I have about 550 members. Originally, when we looked at it, it was like a car club, right? It's like, oh, car club, just a bunch of guys going out, hanging out, having dinner, and things like that. It wasn't until I started meeting the guys more in depth, aside from the cars that they drive, it's like who they were as a person, right? Some people are entrepreneurs, right? Some people are corporate executives, right? Some people just starting out, students just graduated. So like it's a very, very, but the thing is like everyone respect each other and try to help each other out, right? And I think it became more of a network. We got people like, we got doctors, we got plumbers, we got electricians, surgeons,
So by
again,
joining, you get access to the
you have
network.
access to the network, right?
We have Ed from NEDC.
What's NEDC?
Yeah, so Northeast Drivers Club, founded in 2018. We're a car club. I have about 550 members or so, kind of spread across New Jersey, mostly Central Jersey, North Jersey. We got some Staten Island, Manhattan, Long Island, some in a little bit of Philly and a little bit in Connecticut. So like around that area, predominantly over here. About us, and range from mostly car enthusiasts from all walks of life, and all sorts of type of sports cars, right? Anyone from Civic Type Rs to Lamborghini SVJs, to all a huge spectrum in terms.
You're the owner, founder?
So I was one of the founders, and kind of all just kind of happened. It wasn't like, hey, I started one day and be like, yo, I'm going to start a car club. I never.
So how did it happen?
So yeah, so I was going through my midlife crisis. Let's say that I bought a GTR in 2017. I was working so hard, busting my ass off, and I was like, let's splurge on something, and lo and behold, bought a GTR. I came from the car scene back in the '90s as well too. Kind of stepped away from it after college and and stuff like that. So after being a working man, I was like, okay, let's dive back into it. Get back into it a little bit, and I was like, okay, well, let's see. And I was looking on Auto Trader, and I was like, oh, something like that wasn't going to happen, but I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can make this work, right? So I bought, lo and behold, I just went out and just bought one, but I was totally out of the scene. Like I haven't been, since back in the 2000s, right?
Right.
And
it's almost 10 years.
15 years, probably 15 years.
Yeah.
Completely out of the scene, didn't know what to, just didn't know anything, right? So just completely
got a car,
going
but you don't know what to do.
Got a queue, so I was looking for things to
go.
do, and this is back in 2017. I was looking at forums, like the GTR forums. I was like, oh, let's look for some car meets and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how, I met some other guys also recently bought like GTRs and stuff, and that's kind of how it kind of started.
Because that's your Instagram handle.
GTR. And people have asked me, it's like, why don't you change? I've gone through several cars now. I was like, that's what started me, and that's what always will be.
You're gonna stay there.
So are the other founders of NEDC also have GTRs?
No. So there's Jason and there's Joe. So we have a co-founder, and we kind of met by just kind of going to Cars and Coffee. We just a couple guys from the GTRs going to Cars and Coffee, and that's where I met Jason. At that time, he had a Murcielago, and then Joe had a R8, 2010 R8. And we were just going to Cars and Coffees, just literally just Cars and Coffees, and that's kind of how it all started. We would meet up at a rest area, and then just happen to just keep go to any Cars and Coffees that's happening that day.
And was it just a conversation with the three of you, like, let's call ourselves NEDC?
Yeah, no, it didn't even ring about. It just became like more and more people were interested in just
hanging out with
hanging out because we would always meet up at this place, and we would go, and then we grab dinners, right? Like we'll do things, right? And I think that's when Instagram started really to kind of pick up, and I guess people are picking up on it, right? So because we didn't advertise, we didn't have a website or anything like that, things.
Did you even have a name back then when you guys were going around?
No, not really, right? We just just a bunch of GTRs just driving around, right? And these are the guys that like recently bought GTRs as well too, so they're also looking for things to do and stuff like that. So kind of like that's kind of how, and then one thing led to another, like one person led to another, and that's when Jason came along, and then that's when Joe came along. We started doing drives to like Bear Mountain, things like that, Harriman State Park, things like
So when you first started, how many cars would be like cruising together?
I mean, in the early beginnings, probably like 15, 20 still.
Which
And
is
is
still a lot
this
of
already?
It's a lot, yeah.
This is already NEDC or
No,
not
this
yet?
is like before we started calling
So
ourselves
you guys just
anything, which is
hanging out.
just a group like on a WhatsApp chat, you know what I'm saying? Just going to, and this is before. Yeah, and it's just somehow it's more people, just start
Now more
seeing
people
it.
want to hang out
Yeah,
with you
yeah, because
guys.
when we roll in with like 15, like 10, 12 GTRs and stuff. So that's kind of how it all started.
So when did NEDC actually become NEDC?
So NEDC, we actually formed in 2018. So I got the car in 2017. So about like a year
A year
later.
later.
Yeah, a year later. And I guess we just we were a Facebook group. It became a Facebook group first, right? They started a Facebook group, and back then, people could see our posts and things like that. It was actually Jason. Jason is the actual founder.
Okay.
And he's the one that like came up with the whole Northeast Drivers Club, the logo, the name, and everything like that.
Okay.
We call him the Godfather, but like, he's the one that actually, without him, this wouldn't have happened.
So we got to get him on the. We got to get him on.
Yeah,
the
no, right?
podcast
Sorry.
next. No. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We got to do separate
continue
episode
the
with Jason.
Yeah,
continue the
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. So.
And then, so explain to us a little bit about if someone wants to join. Like, how do they join you guys?
Yeah, how did you start the Facebook group with 40 people, and how did it get to 550? Like,
Yeah. So Jason, I was actually part of another group called Driving Force Club.
Okay.
And
I
you
remember
guys have heard of
PFC.
them, right?
are they still
DFC.
around?
Not. I think there are some members, and they probably still get together, but I don't see them as active as used
As
to.
they
Okay.
used to.
Yeah.
They
They
used
were
to be
really,
really big.
they're really big. I think, I would say 2012 to 2015.
Very similar concept as you guys, where it's
Similar, but I think
members.
for us, I mean, they were more just focused on all exotics. For us, it's just sports cars, right?
Okay.
We do have high-end cars, but we also have everything else, right, in between.
Everything in between.
Correct. So
Yeah,
it's-
Driving Force Club is like
yeah,
all the ballers.
yeah. So that's where they came from, right? So I think we had a different vision than that. It's just like, hey, like we don't want to segregate just having exotic cars, but we want to, because it's about the people, right? I think that's where
Include everybody.
include everybody.
So is there an approval process here?
Yeah. So right now, and it kind of taking notes. We actually, it's like a referral program, right? You have to know somebody in the club to kind of get referred in, and then what we'll do is that we'll meet you, come to our event to meet the guys, and just to make sure you're a cool dude and stuff, right? And most importantly, you don't drive like an asshole, right?
Right,
Because I think when we're driving with 15, 20, 30 cars. It's
important.
It's important, right? Just people to respect each other, right? It's never a race like we're trying to get there together, but in one piece, right? So, in terms of that, just come up to a couple events and that's it. Pretty
Yeah.
much. It's not, it's not too.
And then is there like a membership fee?
Yeah. So, right now it's a $250 membership for the entire year, right? So, I think it's probably like the price of a Netflix membership in a year, right? So, and then we have events almost every week and every other week. So
Yeah, so talk about, okay, you get referred in,
Yeah.
you pay the $250, and now what do you get?
yeah, so that's a great question because everyone asks that, right? So, and this is when we start building it. Originally, when we looked at it, it was like a car club, right? It's like, oh, car club, just a bunch of guys going out, hanging out, having dinner, and things like that. It wasn't until I started meeting the guys more in depth, aside from the cars that they drive, it's like who they were as a person, right? So like
What do they do? Their
what they do,
background,
where they come from, and
stuff
what
like
I've
that.
learned is like everyone has an interesting story to where they got to, where they got to, right?
Mhm.
And a lot of folks, some folks came from nothing to became very successful, and you hear that story, it's very inspiring, right? So, so we're like, holy shit, like there's a lot of cool different people, that join us. So it's not just like the car you drive, right? And what we've noticed is that everyone comes from all walks of life,
Right.
right? Some people are entrepreneurs, right? Some people are corporate executives, right? Some people just starting out, students just graduated, So like it's a very but the thing is like everyone respect each other and try to help each other out, right? And I
Right.
think it became more of a network, right? And I think that's where NEDC is kind of going at the moment, is because it's more of like a car enthusiast, but it's also a network because we got people like we got doctors, we got plumbers, we got
A little bit of
electricians,
everybody.
surgeons, like
So
again,
by joining, you get access to the
you have
network.
access to the network, right? And of people, right? So like for example, and I was one of our guys, he's a back surgeon. A lot of people got some back problems, right? a lot of people, especially when you get older than me, you're getting some back problems, right? So, and it's just like I make this case all the time. It's like, yo, it's a text message to him. Like, if you don't know a surgeon, you have to go through your primary doctor. You got to get a referral, and maybe you get scheduled an hour to get one answer from him instead of you can just text him. You know what I'm saying? So like,
so like the 550 of you is there. Where do you guys communicate? So like you just said that for an example. I got a back problem. Let me see if anyone at NEDC knows anyone. Is there a Facebook group, members only, or is there a WhatsApp?
So communication has been always interesting, just because it's very hard to coordinate with so many people. Like we tried WhatsApp. If you have WhatsApp, you have like 500 people talking at the same time.
Yeah, that's not cool.
Your phone's gonna die.
Your phone, and you like come back with 1,000 messages and all talking about random shit.
So how's it work?
So we have a few things, right? We still have Instagram. We have a Facebook. It all started with a Facebook, the Facebook group.
Like a group, right?
Yeah, for Facebook group. And now we have a Discord channel as well too.
Okay.
So we have a Discord channel that's hooked up to our website. So we have a amazing engineer, Aaron. I'll call him out because he helped develop all of that platform for us, right? On his time.
And is he a member too?
He's a member. Right, and he built it. He built our website. Not the greatest website in the world, but it gets the job done, right?
Yeah.
So when I need a back person, I go to the website or I go to the Discord.
Sorry.
So if I got a back injury.
So the Discord is more of like we have different channels, right? So like we have
a back channel.
Yeah, we have like an investing channel. Like, people talk about like stocks and crypto when it was all going crazy.
Right.
Real estate, right? We talk about. And then we have different brands of cars, right? BMWs, like, Audis and, everything else.
We have a lot of different categories.
Very different categories, right? So we have a huge spectrum of all sorts, right? And what I meant by the network is like sometimes when someone is getting into a different like type of car, we already have a lot of folks with knowledge, right? So I think that's knowledge sharing is really what is kind of what we have. Right?
So the only way to get access to the Discord is to be a paid member.
Correct. Yeah.
So about the referrals, right?
Yeah.
So let's say I know you, or I know Hugo because Hugo knows you.
Yeah,
Hugo is already a member, let's say, but I got a clapped out Civic. How many do you say no a lot?
So I mean, we do interview the people, right? I mean,
how often do you say no? Because I'm sure there's got to be people who want in, and you're like, nah, man, that's not.
It's tough, right? It's not like we.
Yeah, it's a hard job.
It's very. I mean, it's just like reading people, right? And sometimes you can't judge a book by its cover either, right? That's the thing, because they have this car doesn't mean they won't be a successful millionaire in a few years, right? So like that's why it's very tough. Don't get me wrong, it's very tough. But it really is.
So do you ever say no?
We do, but it's not necessarily based on car, but it's based on like, if we just don't vibe well, there's multiple things, and it goes by case scenario. So that's why it's important that we kind of meet the person, right? And the thing is like, it's not like we have this like examination list, but like, hey, checklist of like, hey, you must be a cool dude. You do this, and that in order for.
Hey, somebody's listening right now. Like, I got to make sure I check all these boxes because I want in on this Discord.
Honestly, if you're just a nice, humble guy, dude, like that's what we look for, right? I think that's what it is, because all types of cars, even high-end cars, there's all types of spectrums and stuff like that, people. Yeah. So and that's what we look for, like people who would appreciate all sorts of cars, not just high-end cars or exotic.
So to join NEDC, you're looking to join as a car guy, not necessarily like, oh, I'm an exotic owner. I only want to hang out with exotics. Well, this ain't the group for you.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
No, 100%.
That's cool.
100%. And because there are folks like that, but it is what it is, and our club is not for everybody,
right.
So I think, there's a club and organization for everybody, right?
Yeah.
This is kind of how we looked at it.
And I think going off of what you're saying too, like, I came to the season opener in Piscataway.
Yeah.
And, we all came through, and yeah, definitely I could say that you guys had a whole spread of cars. JDM, Euros, exotics, and
yeah,
I think that goes to show, like, yeah, it's not just, oh no, we only want the high end guys, or we only want the nice cars.
Mm-hmm.
There was a little bit of in betweens, like project cars, that. There was straight race cars there too, you know.
Yeah.
So.
And So we're going over, like, I guess the perks of being a member. So you got membership access to the Discord.
Mm-hmm.
What else do you get?
Well, mostly it's and then the events that we plan, right? So like my job is to really find cool events to do, partner with people, do different things, and kind of raise the bar every time, right? We did a Princeton event to 2021. I might be forgetting. I think it was 2021 where we went down the runway.
Racing down the runway.
Went around the one runway,
Oh,
and
okay.
you know, and because I've seen it before, right? I was like, oh, that's a cool thing. Maybe we should do it for the club, right? And I was able to work it out with the guys at the Princeton Airport. And
So the only way you could go to that airport and run is if you remember.
you remember, but then like, you know, the thing is like we're not always like, hey, you have to be a member. If you're a friend of a member too, like, you know, that's also fine as well too, right? So like we usually like all our events, like we usually have like, you know, guests and stuff like that as well too, right? So like you could bring your spouse. We want to make it like a family, you know, friendly, atmosphere. So people can bring their spouses, you know, girlfriends, you know, husbands, you know, things like that, you know, kids and stuff like that.
I know you guys allowed guests because
that's how we ended up there.
I had friends that were also went, but I think that's good that you do that because for someone that's, you know, as a prospect of looking to join,
absolutely,
it's kind of like, well, wow, this is cool.
Yeah,
I definitely want to get down with it, and you know, all right, I'm going to join because I know there's going to be, you know, other stuff to look forward to. So I think that's a good thing that you guys don't just, oh no, strictly members, because you know, someone outside looking in, they might not.
You got to give them a taste.
Into it. Yeah.
Right. And the thing is, like, you know, we are generally an older crowd, their families, right, husband, wives, and stuff like that. So we want to make sure that their significant other feels included, right? Because you know, if you're always going out with the homies, you're going out with the homies, and you're always leaving the wife at home, and you know, and you don't include her, then you know it's going to be a tough time.
Some friction.
You know, exactly. So so we always try to do so that we have a barbecue, usually here at the Edison Roosevelt Park.
Roosevelt Park.
Yeah, I keep it here because I live in Metuchen.
You're local.
I'm local, so like then my guy's always like, why is everything in Central Jersey? Because I'm here. So it's easy, you know, for me.
How many events last year did you have?
I mean, I have to look at my calendar. Sometimes it's sporadic, right? And it's not like, you know, we usually have like our major events are like our season opener, our season closer, right? And then each month we kind of start to have like a bigger scale event, and then other weeks we would have like, you know, drives, like dinners and stuff like that.
I think like not too long, or maybe like 2-3 weeks ago, I think you guys were doing stuff from like morning to night. I think that was the one day when you guys went somewhere in the morning up north, and then you guys wound up in Philly for K-Pot.
Oh yes.
But you guys were out all day that day.
Yeah. So we have so many different events. So we also, because a lot of our guys have, some of the guys have business owners, and we try to support each other.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, like K-Pot is another one. One of our members is one of the owners of K-Pot.
Okay.
You know, and you know, whenever the grand
like
opening.
Like the franchise or actual K-Pot?
So K-Pot is a franchise, but like what they have is they have like a team of owners, right? So like 10 of them, and he's like part of it, right?
Oh.
So yeah, and they basically they franchise out. So every time they do opening, they blew up. They're crazy.
Yeah.
They're crazy now. You know, we can go and support, but their first one was in East Brunswick, right here.
Okay.
Right? So
basically, you're saying every weekend there's going to be something to do.
Usually there's something, right? And then now that you know we're larger, there's always some other.
I think your network just
grew
up.
And you know, people say, hey, I got this charity event. You know, you guys send some guys over here. There's always something to do, right?
Yeah.
And you know, it's my Sundays technically pretty much goes to NEDC. You know. So,
so your calendar is always blocked out.
Yeah, Sundays generally. And the thing is, like, what we do is like we should, you know, usually Sunday mornings, right? So Sunday mornings we'll go out, and then the rest of the Sunday we have time for the family, right? Yeah. That's kind of how we position ourselves, so that like, you know, you don't get yelled at too much.
So we mentioned access to the Discord, ability to join the events. What other perks do you get?
It just, again, I think majority of it's like the network aspect, and you know, different events. And with the different events, it's also, you know, you meet different events.
All right.
Yeah.
So you guys are always also, I like what you guys do too, because not all your events is like drive here, park, hang out.
Yeah.
There's usually some type of activity involved or something. I know recently also you did a F1 viewing at London Jewelers.
Oh yes.
So I saw that and I was like, oh, that's really cool
Yeah.
because I'm a customer of theirs. So when I saw
nice.
that, I was like, oh, that's really dope.
Okay.
And I've never been to their Manhasset location.
Okay.
So I always been invited, and I'm like, I just never had a reason to go. I
Awesome.
should have went. Should have caught a ride with one of you guys to go out there. But that was cool because you guys watch F1 there, and I'm sure for them too, it's not something that they do on a norm.
Yeah.
I know they do a lot of events too, but that's something a little different, I think.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do one in Short Hills. So
okay.
I'll hit you up with that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So yeah, it was one of our connections, and this is what I mean by I never thought of that, right? Like, hey, I was like, hey, let's just reach out to London Jewelers and do an event, right? It was one of our members, and they were like, hey, he's a big shopper there, and it's like, hey, maybe there's something that we could do. And one thing is, in what I've seen NEDC, as more than a car club, it's more of like a lifestyle network, just because there's a bunch of car guys, but also love watches. Right. So I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I can help bridge that gap.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even myself, right? I'm always like interested, but I'm not a full-on watch guy yet. Right. I've got to spend more money. The car's already taken, right? But hey, let's empty our wallets and on other things as well too, right? But so that's when I was like, hey, that's pretty cool because we have a bunch of members and we have a watch channel and a sneaker channel. Yeah. Right. So it's just like these things go hand in hand.
It's just started like you're just connecting the dots.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just like, and London Jewelers, and they were like, hey, because these guys all buy these cars. It's like, okay, well, they're in that demographic, right? Mm-hmm. And I see that as like, hey, like when do you get that like this amount of demographic, like 30, 40 people just walk into your store on a Sunday morning, right? You don't, unless it'll be very difficult. Where I think that's where we kind of come in and we help them, and then we also show our members like, hey, look, there's something else cool. And literally right after our event, one of our guys texted me, hey, I put my name down, and 2 weeks later, he got a Rolex. Yeah. So
and that's still a hard thing in today's market too.
So I mean, the thing is like, it's just getting in the world of sales, right? It's all about numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So it's just like the more people go through that door, the more impressions you see and things like that.
Absolutely.
The more chances you'll convert a sale, right?
Yeah. So on the back end, there's still a lot of moving pieces going on.
Right.
Whereas, like you said, it's not just a conventional car club. Right. Where you guys hang out and
Yeah. We did an event back in our season opener with Ferrari Central right over here.
Okay.
And same thing, right? And normally with Ferrari is that they have their own clientele. Right. They already have a established clientele. Now when we partner up with them, we did and we brought in some folks that that may not have a Ferrari yet, but might be in a market a few years, right? Again, and lo and behold, like I've seen people coming from different cars and buying different cars like a year or two later. You know what I'm saying? So it does, right? And the thing is, like, as a sometimes it can be very intimidating to walk into these stores, right? Like these retail, like you just don't walk in, right? Mm-hmm. And for us, we kind of bridge that gap. It's like same thing with London Jewelers. You just walk in, just talking about watches if you know nothing about it, right? Yeah. You start doing your research online, talking to people, but for us, it's like we host an event. You go there, you can talk to them right there without like them like, hey, because like even with car dealerships, like they'll be like, yeah,
it's still out there,
yeah, so it's just kind of help bridge that gap, right? So that's kind of how I was like,
I think I saw that and I was like, oh, that's really different.
Yeah,
and
this is very relevant to what we were talking about. So non-car guys will be very confused when I say this, but your car can make you money. And what I mean by that is, if you look at it in the perspective that you guys have been, your car can gain you access to a network. And especially if you're a business owner, it turns that liability into an investment. Right. Because, especially exotics, like when regular people, non-car people are like, man, you just spent how much on that Porsche or Lamborghini or whatever it may be? Yeah. Well, little do you know, that allowed me access to a different network of people, of different standards, of different lifestyles and careers, that depending what you do, if you're a plumber, now you just open yourself to a network of 550 people that if I had my Toyota Camry, I necessarily wouldn't be able to join NEDC because I'm not a car guy, right?
Yeah.
But because I like cars and I have a car relevant to your club, that car just turned into a major investment for me because now I have potentially people that could become my customers.
Yeah.
Or even in general, could help me save money because if I got my ticket, I'm sure you got a bunch of lawyers in that group
We do.
could look you out, right?
Absolutely.
And then also another fact is on the same point of a car being an investment is once you step into these certain cars like Porsches and Lamborghinis, you could immediately sell those cars at some times to make money off the bat.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally.
So you actually have a Porsche yourself?
Yes.
Which Porsche do you have?
The GT3 RS.
So Hugo knows better than me about the Porsches, but from what I'm aware of, some Porsches you can't even buy unless you're a previous owner of a Porsche. Is the GT3 RS one of those?
Yeah. It's a previous. It's a used.
It was more of a.
The new ones.
The new ones.
The new ones, right?
The market is just tough.
Yeah, so like if you have one already, and then let's say you put your name.
Yeah.
And I actually learned this from our previous guest, Adam at Brooklyn Auto Sales.
Yeah.
I see him putting up posts like if you have a delivery of a new.
Yeah.
What do they call that color?
Oh, PTS.
What's that stand for?
Paint to sample.
Paint to sample. That's where you, as a current owner, can create your own car.
Yeah, custom color, or choose one of their special colors that's not available like a normal color.
And then I learned that from him. He's like, I'll pay you 50 over what you paid it because I could still make another 50 on top. Like, bro, that car's like 400 already. You're gonna pay 450 to Ed, who just built one. He doesn't even have it yet. And then because he's gonna flip it for over 5. That's kind of nuts. So to those saying, you're wasting your money on a car, it's a whole lot different.
Very different. Yeah. And
different now.
And the thing for me, it's like with cars become more and more rare, right? Especially with moving to electric, like these gas powered cars will all go up one day,
value.
right?
Yeah,
in one day. So the more limited versions, right? The harder to get. People will pay more, and they hold value. And that's kind of the reason why I got into that world as well, too. I was just like, oh, well, like, even with the GTR, when I was looking at it, I was like, holy shit, the prices don't move.
Oh.
You drive for 2 years, and this is back in 2017, right before the whole craziness with the whole pandemic.
But even during that time,
At that time, I was like, okay, you drive the car for, 2 years, and you're paying maybe $20,000. I was like, dude.
Not bad.
Or you might even get your money back.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like, okay, well, and that's what most people don't understand, because everyone looks at cars as depreciation asset. Right?
I think that's like the old school mentality. Yeah.
Very.
Well, depending on which car you're getting.
Yeah. Right. Yes.
So that's a good question to ask you.
Yes.
In your opinion, what cars in today's market are not a depreciating asset or are not a liability?
That are not? Well, so usually manual cars, right? Like all the manual cars are always,
Well, manual cars of a certain. I'll let you say it.
I think most manual cars, right? I mean,
not like a manual Toyota. I don't know.
I mean, they usually hold value, right? Like, but then nowadays, like, it might not now, but like if you see, there's only a few brands that have manual cars now, right? So even with all spectrum of cars, right? So not even just the Porsche side of things, right? So like,
I think it also depends on the, obviously condition, how much you drive it, because nowadays you go and bring a trailer, you find some, someone has like a old Taurus, but factory, it's brand new, like. From the day the guy bought it from '95 and just sat in the garage, it's not even an SHO or anything. It's just a clean car.
Yeah.
Well, here's a great, terrible example, right?
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, but the average person is not buying a Taurus when it parked. You know what I mean?
Oh, no, but like let's say a non-car guy watches this, right? And he's like, what do you mean a car is not a depreciating asset? Like this Toyota Prius I'm sitting in right now, like I already lost $40,000 on it. But there are cars, kind of like the GT3 RS. Yeah. I'll give you a good example. Like my dad's BMW, which Hugo's very well aware of. What is that? What year is that car?
04, 05?
05, 3 Series.
325
4-door with 5,000 miles on it because my dad treated that like it was
a Porsche.
Like it was a trophy.
Yeah.
He got in an accident. They totaled it. Come to find out, the book value on that car is like $3,000 now.
Yeah.
And my mom's Honda Element, which is older, way more miles, has a book value of $10,000.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, wait, this doesn't even make sense. Like this car is brand new. Yeah. So to that case, like, we'll go back to it. So what cars would you say top 3 cars are not depreciating assets in today's economy?
They're not depreciating?
Like, you could buy one and know, like, man, this is going to be worth money. The same money, if not, I'm going to be making money in 5 years.
Wait, you're saying the car that will be appreciating, or
like 3 models right now
that will be appreciating?
That would either appreciate or, the value stays the same.
That it's not losing money.
I mean, any Porsche any GT car or any Porsche car that's a manual, for sure. There's always a limited amount. I mean, any gated cars, R8s, or
because they don't even see those no more.
You don't even see those.
Gated, what brand though? Like, it's got to be gated Lamborghini.
It was gated Lamborghini. Gated Lamborghini is even more rare. Yeah, they stopped that a long time ago. I think the last was
late mid 2000s.
Mercy was the last one, I think, right? The
Mercy and
Aventadors were never gated.
Yeah, Mercy and Gallardos were the last one.
So whatever years that they were on. But I mean, Dodge Vipers too, though, right? Like, those things,
they're pretty much staying.
Yeah, they're staying there too, right? So, so there's, any of those cars that are limited production, would
on the higher end, right?
Unless
even like M3s now.
But the thing is, like, that's, but then there's all, JDM cars too, like, the 90s cars and stuff like that. They would always hold, right? Like NSXs and stuff like that, right? So, like, all those, Supras, that too.
Somebody's taking notes here who's not familiar with it. They're like, oh,
yeah.
So these are the cars that I could turn into investments right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I think, all the 90s cars, right? Like, you can't go wrong with that, right? Like, they don't make it anymore, right? And especially now they finally discontinued the GTR, but they made too many already, so.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't recommend getting a GTR as an investment car right now?
Probably not right now. If you can have something, anything with low miles, then yeah, it becomes a collector car, right? But if you have something with high miles, then probably not, right? But if you have a GTR that's like under 10,000 miles and you save it, yeah, definitely. But then it's like, that becomes a collector, right? That you don't even drive it anymore.
Yeah,
right? Yeah. So it's just like
you want to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah, right. So it's just to give her,
You got to treat it how my dad treated that BMW, but you just got to make a smarter decision here because it's funny now that my dad realized, like, damn, that was a terrible idea that I didn't drive this car and enjoy it how I should have. Yeah. Now he's paying to fix it, and it's like, I'm driving this till the wheels fall off and putting 500,000 miles on it because he come to realize, I don't know what he was thinking. He probably thought this car was going to be worth exactly what we're talking about right now. But with the wrong car.
Not more.
Should have got an M3, Dad.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, soon it's going to be all gas cars, right? Like, once they start rolling the mandate, if it happens in 35, like they said, don't think so, but
I don't think
eventually they probably will, right? I mean, with all the EVs and stuff. So, but we'll see. Then it will go.
I know you got NEDC, right? While you were doing NEDC, you were saying, like, the reason you bought the GTR is because, you're kind of going through your midlife crisis of you working so hard, doing what you were supposed to. So where were you working at?
So I was working at a company called Box. We started in 2000. I'm just running back the time now. 2013, right? This is when your mobile phones, everyone's starting to get the iPhones. It was a e-commerce startup on your mobile device, right? So, like, we were one of the first.
You guys had an app?
Yeah, we were one of the first apps. This is even before Amazon. Like, before Amazon even, they had, like, back, I don't know if you remember, like, Costco, Amazon, they just had things like you can buy, but they don't ship you anything. Not yet. And this is like 2012, right? 2012. So we came up with ideas like, okay, well, we can be an online Costco because, go to Costco. Forget
you don't
want
to wait in that
You
line.
don't want to wait in the line, right? You
not
want
in Edison, at least.
not in Edison. You know what? Edison is actually one of the top stores in the whole East Coast.
Oh, I believe it.
So
because this line, you're always waiting in
line.
I hate
going to that one.
And that's what kind of started. And then, we were, a couple of my buddies were from Manhattan. So the Costco, forget about it.
Yeah, it's a little weird too. Yeah, Costco in the city is weird.
So we kind of started that. We're like, hey, let's ship that. Ship that on, make a company, and it's like, hey, let's buy stuff and literally, sell it online.
So you were working for Box?
Yeah. Well, I was one of, like, the early employees, I say. I wasn't one of the founders, but I was there since the garage days at the CEO's garage.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, in 2013. Yeah.
And is NEDC your full time now?
No, NEDC is not full time. So I also have a shop now, which kind of came from. It was a surprise actually. It wasn't something that was planned, but that is my full time thing now.
What
And
do you guys do?
so we're a customization shop. We do vinyl wrap, PPF, detailing, and then we also do a little bit of the maintenance side of things as well too, right? Oil changes,
Where's the shop at?
in Harrison.
Okay.
Harrison. Yeah, and it all kind of spawned by accident. And actually, and when I meant networking is so important in life, this is one of those examples where one of our members came up to me. He's like, "Hey Ed, like I'm 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 relocating out of this location. Would you like to take it over?" At first, he was like, "Hey, you want to turn it into a clubhouse?" I'm like, "Ugh." I'm like, clubhouses. I mean, we have so many members from all over the place. Like, a clubhouse does not necessarily make sense. We people from South Jersey, Long Island, to have one centralized location is relatively difficult and wouldn't really work. So I was like, "Oh, maybe we can turn it into a shop and things like that." So, but it was because of NEDC, and that's kind of how it happened, right?
So is it an NEDC shop or is it just your shop?
No. So I partner with two other guys, right? So the guy that originally had that
Started the
location,
shop.
yeah, started that location.
Are they
moved out.
members?
Yeah, they're members. They're members.
So
as well,
that's a good point of what you were
Right.
talking about, because as they were members, it happened to be within the network, and look, it opened up doors.
Open
to you.
up doors, right?
I guess the three of you guys starting a business together.
Yeah.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah, so I think kind of happened, right? And then, like I said before, it's like if you asked me a few years ago, it's like you're gonna own a shop. I'm like, you're crazy, you know. Um, and it was unfortunate that I lost my job last year, and actually this became my full time thing. Originally, it was more of just like, hey, it's like a side hustle, like maybe we can help some of our members out, and maybe start a side business. Who knows where it'll go. And now it's kind of like full time. So
Cool.
between NEDC and the shop, that's my full time gig now.
So it was kind of like you said, everything worked out for you because a lot of people in your position, you guys got bills, cars, family, this, and then you lose your job, turn into like you kind of didn't even break a sweat because it's like, all right, I know I can transition.
Well, I mean,
Right
I
away.
wouldn't say break a sweat. I mean, missing a steady paycheck is a pretty life-changing moment for sure, right? But, wife was super supportive, right?
Yeah.
So like it's like, you know what, let's give this a shot, because I look at it this way. I was always an entrepreneur, right? Like, I think, even with the box, I started from the ground up. We were like literally in the garage, and
Yeah.
doing pick packing and everything like that, to doing an IPO in 2021. So, like, went through all of that, and I was like, you know what? Maybe it's time to work for myself and see how that goes, right? Like, and you guys, know better than you started this, somewhere, right? And the hustle it takes, it's just more gratifying than
Working for
so,
someone else. Oh,
exactly,
absolutely.
So
Something that you created. It's like your own baby.
absolutely, dude, absolutely,
Yep.
absolutely.
So now, shop wise, you guys do everything like you said, PPF. This are you guys exclusive with anybody like Expels, or are you guys with certain companies?
No, I mean, we definitely have companies that reach out to us and say, hey, you want to do exclusive branding for this? Like right now, I think we're still, for me, again, I'm outside looking in, right?
Yeah.
I'm more of a business guy. My partner is the technical guy. He's the guy that, Mars, he's the one that does the wrapping and everything.
So he's the installer.
And he's been doing this for, many years, over 10 years, right? So, like, that's kind of how we partner up. It's like, because I'm not the guy touching the cars.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not that guy, right? But I'm the guy that's like, hey, like, again, the network, the connection, the marketing, and do everything in the back end. So, but yeah, like, we don't have exclusive, but because I'm still learning the market and seeing what works best, and I want to be what's best for the customer, right? If the customer wants this, if our guy's like, oh, we can't sell it, then I was like, all right, lost the customer, So I from my days of other businesses and things like that, it's always about the customer first, right? Just what they want and seeing what we can provide.
So most of the events that you do, you mentioned, are like a lot of chilling. Do you guys do track days or anything?
So yeah, we do track days. So and you guys got a couple of friends. So Northeast Track Club was kind of spawned from NEDC. So we all started as NEDC as first, and a couple guys, Wes, Peter, Will, they're more heavily into the track, and this kind of being, in the beginning, I think, we're all relatively getting new to it, and this is about, 2000, early 2017, 18, right? And then, we start doing, they start doing their own events. And then we were kind of like, sister organizations, right?
So is there NETC?
NETC,
Northeast Track Club.
Yeah.
Is that a separate fee to get into that?
No, they don't have a fee. They don't have a fee. Yeah.
So let's just take it a step back. Prior to you getting into the GTR, I know you said you were in cars, early 90s and stuff like that. Were you into any type of racing?
I wasn't. I had a Nissan Maxima 2019. No, it's not 2000. 1998 Maxima SE.
Okay.
5 Ziegen wheels.
Still in parts on.
Still in parts, still in body kit, right?
Absolutely.
H&R springs, clear corners, must have the clear corners, right? That's about it, right? It's more for a show, more or less. Okay. Not really the racing thing.
So you weren't into the motorsports side until
not too much until later. The track side of things. Then I got a little more because of our guys. They start planning their events and stuff. Yeah.
So prior to what was your first car that you took to
the GTR?
Okay.
Yeah, the GTR. Yeah.
And when we talk about track, we're talking about
circuit track.
Circuit track.
Road track.
Not drag racing, not autocross.
Yeah.
That was actually on a track that you can drive. Yeah. So you drove the GTR. Was the GTR modded?
Relatively stock. It's just an exhaust.
Okay. And how was that?
It was good enough for me. For me, I think with the power level that is, it's more car than what I need. I know I have some buddies that where they're running, 4-digit, horsepower cars, right? And I see it, I'm like, holy shit. But I'm okay with mine, right?
Yeah. But did you ever get I know they say on those tracks it's not even about the power, right? Because power can only get you so far. You got to brake.
Brakes and tires, bro. Brakes, tires, suspension is really what you need.
Yeah. So then from the GTR, what did you move into?
So from the GTR, that's when I moved into Porsche. That's when I got my first Porsche. It was 2020 during COVID times.
Okay.
I got a
before the Skyrocket.
Before the Skyrocket. So it's funny. I traded my car to Adam.
All right.
For the GTR, and it was a lot lower than But then I also bought the Porsche at a lot lower price. Right. So I made out. So I was pretty lucky.
Okay. Yeah. And that was a what Porsche? What?
It was a Turbo S 991.1. It was a 2014 Turbo S.
Manual, PDK.
PDK.
And did you track that?
Yeah, I tracked that too.
So totally different than the GTR?
Very different. It's like 300 pounds lighter. Transmission's a little different. It has rear wheel steering. So both all-wheel drive cars, but it just feels almost night and day in terms of weight-wise.
Yeah. So you obviously you enjoyed that.
I learned more on it. I started because when I tracked the GTR, I only did it a few times, right? But it wasn't until I got the Porsche, and that's when the NETC guys started doing more and more events. They started taking events, and I was going to support them, so I'll go and track them.
Okay.
So, can we go back to the business side of things?
Sure.
Because we went from the beginning of it was just 15 of you guys.
Yeah.
And then at some point, when did you start charging people?
Yeah. So ours was free. I think when we did the Facebook group, originally it was all free. And I think we were just, adding people left and right. And the thing is, when we host events, all the stuff first comes from our pockets. If we have to, buy things like coffee and things like that, it comes from our pocket first. So when we host events, right before, you guys know, when you have to, host an event, you have to come up with coffee, donuts, and things like that, upfront cost for everything. So it's like, oh crap, and then also when people start talking, hey, you got insurance?
Yeah.
Things like that. As you do events, you need upfront costs. You start learning the costs, and it's like it's coming out of our pockets now. So it's like, and then that's when the idea is like, hey, maybe we should start charging. And then also another thing is that we came to a crossroads. We had a discussion, all three of us. It's like, where do we want to take this club? If we want to, because the thing is, we can spend more time. Because now your time as well, right? When we plan these events, right, it's like, we have to go meet up with, the different partners, get things set up. And the thing is, when we're hosting events, we're hosting it. We're not necessarily enjoying it. We're enjoying that, we're seeing that.
I saw you were on the radio the whole time.
You see me running around. I'm looking like a madman when I'm running these events, right? But I love it because I see people enjoy it, so I do it, right? But I was like, listen, but it does take a lot of work, right? So just to help compensate some of the time, and that's kind of how we got about the charging. And honestly, when we first charging, we had about, I think, like 500 at that time, and then
500 people.
500 people non-paying.
Right.
And then I think when we launched it, some people didn't see the value of it and left, and it was like, all right, totally fine. I think we literally lost half the member overnight.
Right.
And I was like, oh, that's okay, because we came to a part where like we were growing like crazy, like wildfire. I was like, dude, we can be 1,000 people in like the next 6 months.
Yeah.
We really start adding more and more people. But when there's so many people, there's so many different characters you deal with,
Absolutely.
right? Like, so there's a huge spectrum.
So you guys
more people, more drama, more everything.
You weeded
so like,
people out by doing it.
So exactly. So the thing is like for us, it's like, yo, if you ever want to join, totally fine. You know what I'm saying? Like if it's not right for you at this moment, totally fine.
So I like how you said that, like half of the people didn't see value.
Yeah.
So at this time, when you guys started charging people, how many years were you into the club?
So we started 18. We started charging, I think, 19. Joe knows better than I do, but yeah, probably 19, right before COVID.
So right about a year after you guys were a formal NEDC group.
18, 19, yeah, maybe 20.
Was it before COVID?
It was before COVID. It's like right before COVID. It was like right before
1920.
So, yeah, 1920, probably 1920.
So you started the group without an ambition or without a goal to monetize it.
Yeah.
And literally overnight, it turned into a business.
Yeah, absolutely. We turned an LLC and everything.
I mean,
yeah,
250 people times, was it 250 at that time?
No, I think we started at 125.
Yeah, so I mean, that's not.
Yeah.
That's not chump change.
Right.
That's a formal business at that point.
Right.
So again, a business that was created without formal intention, kind of like your shop now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's where life takes you, right? So yeah, it was not intended. And the thing is, like, we all have our daily lives as well too, our families, our work, and stuff like that. So it's actually.
So it's been a side hustle, and technically still is.
It was still a side hustle, right? Could it be a main hustle one day? Maybe, yeah. If we go nationwide.
Well, I was just about to say that because you got my wheels spinning when you said that. The guy that with the shop you're at now said maybe turn into a clubhouse. There's Soho House, and Soho houses are all over the world.
Yeah.
So maybe you could have, maybe not NEDC anymore because if you guys, branch out, but maybe you guys could have clubhouses.
Could be.
You might have to trademark this right after. USDC.
Something, like car enthusiasts.
Yeah.
WWDC.
You know what I mean?
Worldwide Drivers Club.
There's no one around there.
Yeah. The thing with clubhouses is just a lot of overhead, right? So it's just like anything.
Hey, you got real estate guys in your group, right?
We do, but they're not the ones paying for it.
Maybe they could be.
So, but yeah, I think, but then
you gain partners out of your group, right?
Yeah,
that is true.
Might have to throw that in
there. Absolutely. Listen, I think if there was always a business out there, there's someone listening. You know what I'm saying?
No,
so,
absolutely.
Like, you never know.
It's just something different.
You just never know. You
just got me thinking.
That's a cool concept,
yeah.
Different clubhouses in every state.
Yeah.
One of your real estate guys who are just like, hey, listen, I got properties everywhere.
Yeah. For us, I mean, there's definitely, because there's all these like always barn finds where these like houses that has like 10 garages and stuff like that. Let's turn this into a clubhouse. I was like, but no one wants to pay the overhead.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
100%.
Because again, listen,
it does get expensive.
It does get expensive,
especially
and the thing
where
is,
we're at here.
The thing is, like, does the novelty wear off after a while? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
of
if
course.
you've been there,
Like,
well, as long as
longevity.
you do exactly what you initially did, provide value, right?
Right.
As long as there's value, there's a reason to continue to join, like the country club, right?
Yeah.
The golf course country club. Why do people pay? Some country clubs charge.
That's true.
5 figures.
Absolutely.
But where's the value? The value is in.
It's
a great course and the network of people that you have access to.
Yeah. Who knows? Maybe one day someone see this podcast and want to invest in NEDC, and then we'll start a clubhouse.
Yeah.
Who knows? A country club.
I want to say that doesn't. I know there's similar groups in other states like you guys, but I don't think there's a nationwide one.
There's
nationwide car clubs.
Yeah.
But like not a paid group.
No, I
can't think of one.
There's some that I don't remember the name off the top of my head, but someone sent it to me. They're worldwide.
Oh wow!
Like they have one in Monaco, they want to have in like Dubai, one in U.S. Like all different. So,
wow.
But I mean, again, I think everything is a little different, and I think what comes down to like what type of events that you can hold.
Yeah.
Right? And I think for me, just
the experience.
I want to keep providing more different experiences for our members.
Value.
Right?
It's like
and that's the value, right?
If you step it up, like, hey, now we're doing West Coast events. Now you're really stirring the pot because now I love doing the events.
Yeah.
In New Jersey. Yeah. I might have to ship my car out there.
So we were gonna do that, and then this is during COVID, and then things didn't work out, and gas prices went out. This is with the NETC guys. We were going to ship. We had a whole route planned. We were going to ship 24 cars out to the West Coast to do Buttonwillow and to do Willow Springs. Right? And literally, but then I was like, let's make it a trip instead of just shipping the car and do 2 track days. Let's make it a whole. We'll go up, hit up Monterey Bay, come down PCH, and make it a whole drive and shit.
Kind of like a whole the gumball style.
Yeah, something like that. With like 10, 15 cars and things like that. So like, hell, that's still a bucket list for me. So when the time's right, I'm going to definitely do it again.
So kind of a similar concept, because I know if you want to run the Gold Rush rally, you got to pay to run the rally. But meanwhile, yours is a year-round club.
Yeah.
Right?
So for us, I think it's just like, and we always feel like we're not, doing enough events. But if you look at our calendar, it's like almost every, I think it's just keep trying to push that bar.
Yeah. You know what? I give it up to you because to create a community like you did and to maintain, if not grow the community, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like providing value to that many people is
it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not just pulling up to a park and let's hang out for a few hours and then go home. It's there's a lot of planning involved on the back.
Because I gotta imagine like a lot of your members must renew, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, but life happens, right? Like some people get married, some people have kids, some people change jobs, people move, people just get out of the whole car scene. Some people just really just wanted to get out. And I think 2020 really set us off after like everyone was stuck home and people want to get out. And what we do is that we provide an escape, right? Like you're busting your ass off working, and we just kind of like have events where we'll do dinners, we'll do a quick drive, and it's nothing long, right? So maybe an hour or 2 at most, right? It's not taking up your whole day, right? It's like, when you go golf, you're gone for the whole day.
Yeah.
Right? It's like for us, maybe 2-3 hours, and you're back, and before you're.
Well, it sounds like a lot of the events you do, it's dozens of people. What's the biggest event that you've done? I mean, you got 550 members. Have you ever gotten everybody together?
No. So usually our season openers are the largest, and I think you usually have like about 200, 250 cars.
Right.
People wise, probably 300-400. I think those are our season opener and our barbecue. Probably season opener is probably the biggest. But the thing is, like, everyone has different schedules, right? And for us, it's never about, hey, you have to meet up, certain events, right? You have to come to certain events or you get booted or anything like that. For us, it's like, hey, you pay your dues, just show up when you want to show up. You know what I'm saying? There's an event. Hopefully there's an event for everybody. You know what I'm saying? So, but, and hopefully we land on a schedule. But sometimes, and that's where some people was like, hey, maybe it's not for me because I've just gotten too busy. And it happens. But for us, it's like, hey, listen, once a member, if you want to, pause or, come back some other time, totally fine. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're accepted, once you're accepted, it's all good, But yeah. So
any big plans like in the future for NEDC, or is it just spontaneous? I mean, you guys just seems like
So I think for us, it's just like how do we run or how do we grow NEDC without killing ourselves? And because right now, majority of the work is just the founders, right? So it's just like we just we have meetings, just to plan out events, plan out the year. Talk to different, whether it's vendors, people, partners, and things like that, So it's like, where do we want to take it? I think that's kind of where, we're kind of stuck at because it's like, okay, we only have so much time. We can only talk to so many people. I'm located here. Joe's in Manhattan and Jay's in Staten Island, So we're kind of like,
spread out,
we're kind of spread out, right? But it only takes like, if let's say, something where I have to step away or he has to step away, then I think that's one thing. It's just like any business, right? Like right now we're just that mom and pop, right? Like if we really need to, it's like we need to kind of scale. We have to have people, help out and things like that, So we started recently. We did a Long Island chapter, just because our guys in Queens, it was like, yo, you guys never plan shit over here. I was like, yo, it's far, but you ever take the bridge back when you come home? I was like, you don't want to be on that bridge.
So somebody in Long Island, like, I don't want to join the group. I can never go to those events.
Yeah, so we did have a few Queens guys,
right.
Long Island guys, and they were a little more, hesitant at first, just because there's not enough events for them to come out. And when they drive like 2-3 hours a day
in traffic.
So I was like, I feel, so. we had fortunately we had a small group of guys, and be like, hey, they
we'll
want to
take the lead over
we'll
here.
take the lead, and it's like, hey, let's do some small events. We'll still do the big events, right? And London Jewelers and things like that. I'll still do events, and we'll bring folks from Jersey to the area. So, but then they have a second chapter. So we kind of see how that works out.
So what's it take to host an official car meet? And by official, I mean permits, police.
Yep.
I'm actually going down the list right now.
Yeah.
Staff.
Yep.
And all these things cost money.
Yeah.
If you're doing a cars and coffee, most likely the coffee.
Yeah.
What else you got here?
So for us, like, where people are parking, where, like, how things
the venue
look, the venue, right? Like parking, like going by where you said down the list, the location is the most important, right? Where cars are coming in, where cars can exit, right? You want to make sure that they're organized. Obviously, having an officer is always
police
plus, just to kind of
we've learned most townships will tell you how many police are coming, which is another thing.
Yep.
And they have minimum hours that they need.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people don't realize when they go to these legitimate car meets is it costs money.
Absolutely. They get paid by the hour, right?
And car meets most of the time don't cost people money to attend.
Right.
So for on the promoter side of things, what else do you have to spend money on?
So, I mean, the food, if you're providing the food, or if you get trucks, but permits, right? The permits is one. So if you're holding it at, like, certain plazas, make sure you have, the rights, and, just make sure. And then insurance, that's another thing. Most people don't, but, like, you should, just because if something happens, you're covered, because you just never know, right? Especially with public events, right? With public events, you don't know who shows up. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, there's a risk sometimes, because it only takes one person to ruin the whole thing,
Then there could also be media, videographers, photographers, if you want to promote it for the next event, which falls into marketing.
Right.
So a lot of people, when you're going to these cars and coffee, you may think like, oh, I'm just going to this free car event. It may be free for you, but to the people putting it together, there's
a cost somewhere.
There's time and money involved.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for the people that ruin it by, doing your two steps and your burnouts at the end of the day, that's why people get upset, because one, getting the venues is, I believe, the most challenging.
Yep.
And man, if you put all that effort into getting the location in, there's always that one guy.
Yep.
But the great thing with your group is because you're a paid group, you've filtered out those guys. So technically, those guys tend to not go to your events.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, for us, like, majority of events are private, and I think that's also the exclusiveness of the club, right?
Yeah.
We'll say like, hey, we're having this event, but there's only for members and their guests only, right? And usually we have a whole list, and then we have a website. When you RSVP, it goes, and I can see who's coming, who's bringing what car, and things like that. So it becomes a little more organized, and I think that's what kind of separates us a little bit. Where, like, I know exactly kind of 90% of who's coming. Of course, there's going to be no shows and people that come out of the blue, right? But we kind of have a good idea of how many cars and what to expect.
You mentioned you're able to see all the cars because you have to register to go to these events.
Yeah.
You have your high-end cars, your Ferraris, Lamborghinis, exotics.
Yeah.
What would you say are the low-end cars?
I mean, I wouldn't want to put it like a low end. I don't want to put it like that. But we do have, we have all sorts, right? JDM, domestic cars, European cars, and then the exotic cars, right?
But mostly all sports cars.
All sports cars, all sports cars, and so on. Funny you say that. The most car brand that we do have are Porsches, but the next one is Corvettes.
Wow.
We have a bunch of Corvettes, and then after that is BMWs. Like that's ranking the type of cars that we have.
What's your most favorite event that you've ever hosted?
I think probably the Princeton Airport one, probably where we were going down the runway, was probably the favorite.
You've only done that once?
Once, and no one is ever doing it again.
Why is that?
The reason why is the owner. So we did it, and then owner, and then we put it in social media, and a lot of people saw it, and a bunch of different organizations started reaching out. It's like, yo, I want to do this shit too, and he got a call from his lawyer. It's like, do you guys have track insurance? You're racing these cars down the runway. It's like, I hope there's insurance. We had insurance, but with static insurance, right? It's different. Racing insurance and static insurance, like a static meaning like a cars and coffee, car meet type of static. Like cars don't move. Now you're going at 100 plus miles per hour down the runway.
Right.
So yeah, that was pretty cool. And it was a funny story.
So
was
it's
that
one and done.
Yeah, one and done.
Lucky you guys. Thankfully, nothing bad happened.
I mean, nothing bad happened. I'm trying to figure out. I mean, there are other runways that do it, but they're a little further out. But funny that that runway, the Princeton Airport. You guys been there, right? I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of events that go over there. It's an active airport, right? Yeah. They don't shut it down for nobody, and it's always and our agreement was, it's like, hey, if there's a plane coming down, you stop everything. So the owner was there literally watching the planes. If they're coming down, it's like if you see binoculars, if you see planes coming down, he's like, all right, we stop everything. 15 minutes, let it tack. Let it
do its thing. So the owner was totally down with it.
Oh yeah, he was totally down with it. He got paid for that shit. So, it's like he got paid by car. I was like, listen.
Every car that ran had to pay for a run.
He got paid. So and we got nothing out of it. I was like, listen, as long as my members have fun in a safe environment, dude, let's do it. So. But they see again that was just like a conversation.
Oh man, I wish he kept that up. That could have been we lost so many drag strips in here in New Jersey.
Really,
that could have been
Englishtown, Echo, yeah.
I guess that's why I never heard of anyone running there again.
Yeah,
you just gotta find out how much the racing.
So the thing is with the racing insurance though,
they need a lot of safety and all that stuff. Right?
There is no safety on the airport. There's no
barrier,
no barricade. If anything, you get an ambulance, but that's about it. There's nothing else to be safety. So no one would insure that, and that's why.
Also, you guys don't have same thing like proper tech and stuff like that, because some of these cars now stock, they're moving.
Yeah. And it's another thing is that I think that it was only a mile long, so it's not that long. So you can't even go like we wanted to go a half, but there's no way we can go a half without going into, and these cars are 500-600.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Some of these cars
they'll go into the woods if so we made it 1/3 instead. So ran it 1/3.
What's your worst experience hosting an event? Did you ever have to kick anyone out, or did anyone was there ever that one guy at a particular event that you had to deal with?
Not really. I'm thinking all the events we had.
That's good to know, because
we definitely had incidents on our drives, but nowhere where nowhere
nothing that really anyone had to get kicked out of the club because they were acting up.
Not out of the club. No, we haven't.
Good. That's a good thing.
We haven't.
Unfortunately for us, we used to do this event, Warehouse Wednesday, at our old warehouse.
Right.
And unfortunately, we had that guy show up, and he did a burnout in front of the police that were there at the event, hanging out with us.
Yeah.
And that was the end of our event.
Yeah. Oh,
our landlord was not with it. Well, not only the landlord, Edison Police Department.
Oh, really?
The dude basically spit in their face by doing a burnout in front of them.
Yeah.
And fortunately, that one's gonna live in my head forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had a good thing going. We were running that event every month, every Wednesday.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
for like
when I was
7 years, and then that one dude killed it.
Yeah, I think, and that's why, I mean,
I guess that's the difference too. Like you said,
ours was open to the public.
That's the thing, right?
Event.
And we haven't really done a private event. Public event. Well, the public events we do, we'll join up with different folks and stuff like that, But we haven't really, And I think that's one thing that my worries all the time. If something, but like let's say if it was one of the members that did that. We'll have a talk with them, and then if not, if it's still, then it's just like, hey, this is not for you. It's not. This is not what we're looking for. You know what I'm saying? Most of our guys know better. I mean, you'll get some revs here and there because people got a new exhaust. They want to show it off. So I get it. But I was like, there's a place and time for everything. That's what we say. There's a place and time for everything.
Yeah.
Racing on the roadways and stuff. Same thing with the way we drive, right?
I was going to ask you too that, like you were saying, like being safe on the road.
Yeah.
Are you guys like on the phone with each other? Do you guys do walkie-talkies?
Walkie-talkies, yeah. So when we do our drives, and sometimes it's, we have 20, 30, 40 cars going down.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
What's the most cars you ever done on a drive? And would you consider a rally, or is it?
I mean, we drive every weekend, so I don't know what we call it a rally. You know what I'm saying? We drive all the time, so we don't really make it where we throw the stickers on the car and stuff like that. Unless we do. I mean, we've thought about it, right?
Certain events.
Yeah, certain events like some charity event. Yeah, we haven't done it yet. We thought about it, but it's a lot of coordination on that as well too.
So let's say you had like 250 cars at your Cars and Coffee season opener.
Yeah.
What's the most cars you've had on a drive?
Probably around 50. I actually know. This just past weekend we had probably 60 something cars down Route 1. I mean, that was just going from we went down from Regal, the movie theaters, just straight to Interstate Motorsports. They hosted us with Cars and Coffee.
Okay.
Really cool. Steve Aldian, brought us there. So yeah,
that's a nice facility too.
Yeah, very nice facility. I think it's very cool for someone who have never seen it before. So we drove down there. I think we met with like 50 something cars.
Oh wow.
Very hard to keep 50 cars together on Route 1 with all those traffic lights.
Yeah. It's gonna. So usually we do have a mapped out destination and stuff like that. With walkie talkies, it does help. I mean, we either, if I'm driving or Joe leads most of the drives. So you're always like calling out different things. It's like, hey, we're exiting, and this that's like we're going over here. Oh, there's a cop on the radar. Things like that. So we try to keep each other, and then we have other people that that in the back will just kind of communicate, right? So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you're not just driving blindly.
Yeah, not driving blindly and stuff like that.
Sounds like that might be something in the future then, like a formal rally, sponsored rally.
Possibly.
Police escort.
Possibly. I mean, we did one with the toy drive over here in North Brunswick. Our guy Errol has been helping us set up every year. I think this is going to be our 6th year. I think we did 5 or I've lost count. We've been doing it for many years now. So.
Have you ever seen any crazy upgrades from your members from one type of car to another type of car?
I knew someone that came from a JDM car that went straight to a Ferrari.
Oh, wow.
One of our members, and I think he was always in that world. I mean, he was already in that demographic that he can get one. He just never did. He was all into JDM cars. I think once you start seeing other ones, and kind of that's how.
Now you can fit in.
Yeah. So like again with that because I keep thinking of him because that's when we held the Ferrari event. It's like, he started meeting, people and, and then.
That was like his stepping stone.
Yeah, exactly.
Kept going to that Ferrari dealership. He sold himself on one.
Right, yeah. So, I think that's, but I think, one thing is that, our members inspire each other, right? So like, I think that's where, again, we have members that are really well established, and then we have guys that just came out of college, right? So, or just want to start a new business and things like that. So, and we do help support each other's businesses, right? So like some people's restaurant will go on a weekend and be like, hey, we'll just set up a dinner there, just help it out, park the cars outside, get us publicity and things like that, so kind of,
No, I think that's good. I think you guys do a good thing. Like, it's kind of like, everything is full circle for you guys. Yeah. From once you join to the members meeting each other and, just kind of networking, sharing numbers, sharing contact info, because, I think that's almost like the best form of marketing.
Yeah.
Best form of just getting exposure to your business.
Yeah.
Not paid, not something. This is not something paid. Like if I came to you and said, "Hey Ed, I got my roof's leaking." Oh, you got to hit up such and such. He's a roofer, or he's a, you know what I mean? Like
plumber.
You said plumbers.
Yep.
This, that, and the other. I think it's literally just a phone call away, rather than you just going on Google and searching like your neighborhood. Guy that probably bang you over the head.
Yeah. And there's more a level of trust, right? So like someone you're reaching out, like, hey, like, and we say it's like, hey, you should treat these like each member like as if they were a great customer, and
right?
Like that, right? Just like just help them out, So I think that's it goes both ways.
I like it. Looking forward to seeing the future of NEDC. Definitely looking forward to attending more of your guys' events.
Yeah.
And if anyone wants to follow on your Instagram, what's your Instagram?
GTR Ed. GTR_Ed.
I'm Brian ESR.
Hugo ESR. And then one more thing. GTR Ed and NEDC.
Appreciate you guys watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure you like, comment, and of course, subscribe. Stay tuned for the next episode.